Welcome back to the Explicit Truth Podcast. I'm your host, Dennis 𝐤𝐄𝐄𝐄. We back for part 2 of the Marine Kingdom agenda. Bro, I'm telling you. Hey, so last week, praise Yahuwah. No, not last week, but last time we was doing the podcast, man, I was just under the weather, man. But I had to get it out. The Ruach was moving me to get it out. Praise Yahuwah. Got out. But we back, man. And so you know, we talking about the Marine Kingdom. We talking about how LGBTQ plus is linked in there with the Marine Kingdom. I mean, it's gonna be bananas, man. Let's go. You are listening to the Explicit Truth Podcast. All right, so we are back for part two. Part two. So you notice the change. I know I keep changing the setup, man, but I'm finally getting to some things that I like. Because, when you set things up, you just set it up for it to look good, but then, you want to personalize it. And so, you praise Yahuwah. He's helping me to get to, helping me in my, the film set for the Explicit Truth Podcast. So we're back, man. We're back in the place. And, man, so we dropped off. I think we dropped off. It was like, what does it all mean? Because sometimes, I used to be, man, when I first came into the walk, this was like 2009, I used to be on this binge of just like conspiracy and stuff. And it would really lead to really nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would just be like, okay, well, what does that have to do with me? All this stuff is happening. And I think oftentimes it's not really explained about, well, what does this mean? And so I was kind of in the mode too, just even recently, like, what does this all mean? Because, Yahuwah was showing me these things and I was like, okay, what does it mean? And I want to share this with you. So this is out the book of Esther, right? And it says, Esther 4:13, right? It says, do not imagine that because you are in the king's palace, you alone will escape the fate of all the Yahudim. So if you go back to that time and you look at what was happening to her, um, he was telling her, he was like, look, man, don't think because you chilling, like it's like you in there, we out here, like you gonna be good if he turn on us, right? And so the concept is something similar to where one of the greatest commandments is to love your neighbor like yourself, right? Or love your neighbor. I seen a really good translation of that. It was like love your neighbor as if it were yourself. You know what I'm saying? As if they were you. So with that, why this is important, why we talking about this is because Yahuwah was explaining to me. He's like, look, bro, things are happening on the earth, and a lot of the believers are just asleep, and stuff is happening, and eventually gonna get to your neighborhood. It's gonna affect your children, gonna affect you, and you just going to work, coming home. You do Shabbat. You fellowship with your brothers. You got your little prayer life, but you oblivious to what's really going on. And so one of the things Yahuwah was showing me is like, hey man, like you gotta know what's going on, man, because and you have to be a beacon, as Yahusha says, right? Like we supposed to be a light, right? And so the light always don't have to be like, you don't have to be like, oh, I'm doing this in the city. It could be where the prayer warriors at. The prayer could be, bringing the light to the city. You know what I'm saying? And it's a prayer. Hey man, the prayers, the earnest prayers of a righteous man availeth much. Remember that. And so, we supposed to pray for the city, especially in captivity, man. We supposed to pray for the city in which we are at. And so you really got to pray for where you are, and just even in America. And I'm not talking about pray like, man, I pray America just stay number one. I mean, it's some things that already got to happen. But I'm talking about there are some things that are happening when it comes to the souls of the people and what the enemy is doing. And I remember hearing a quote before. It's like a lot, like it was something to the effect of a lot of the things are happening is because the righteous are not doing anything. You start getting into this thing. You go out there in like Venice Beach, Venice Beach. We went out there one time, man. It was crazy. I'm gonna have to tell that story. I'm gonna have to tell that story one day about that Python spirit. But we was out there in Venice Beach, man. It's crazy, and that was actually Venice Beach was actually where they was setting up the Church of Satan, and you know, crazy, just crazy spirits out there. Even when you just go out there, it's just you just feel it like in the atmosphere. And one of the things is they had a video of them, that church, and they praying to release spirits. I mean, these people fasting, they doing all this other stuff, and they going hard on whatever they own. They on that falsehood, but what I'm saying, they going hard on that. And a lot of believers be just really just lazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I used to be one of them. You know what I'm saying? But lazy in a sense of not really knowing what's going on in the spirit. Not so. Why does it matter when we get here? Is don't think as as he was telling the sister, man. He said, don't think that it's not going. I'm gonna just condense it into modern day language and say, don't think it's not gonna come to your doorstep. Don't think because you in your life and you minding your business that it's not gonna come to you and be on your doorstep, right? So don't be, hey man, be sober, be vigilant. The adversary, man, he going around like a roaring lion seeking those who he can devour. So why does it matter? It matters because they casting spells on the earth. They casting spells on the earth, man. These movies, that music that's coming out of Hollywood and through Atlanta, whatever it's coming from, they casting spells. The movies that hit on the weekend, they casting spells, and we're gonna talk about it. That's why it's important. You need to know they done cast a spell. They casting spells, and you need to know what's happening because these things are affecting the believers in the spirit. Number one, it's affecting the body of Hamashiach in the spirit, and number two, it's affecting people that's not even just paying attention, right? So let's get into it, right? I put don't be comfortable because you think you're safe. Don't let pride get you, because that's part of pride too. It's like, man, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Ain't dealing with me. Love your neighbor like yourself. Wouldn't you want somebody praying for you? You know what I'm saying? Even if you was just like out there doing whatever, you know what I'm saying? You was just lost. Wouldn't you want somebody praying for you? Remember them praying grandmas you hear about the stories? Right? We have a duty. We've been given the great commission to proclaim Yahusha is the bond or son of Alua. We've been given a commission, preach the good news in season, out of season. But you gotta be anointed. You gotta be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh. You know what I'm saying? So let's get back to the Hollywood agenda, because we're gonna be talking about the LGBTQ plus. And I know I never really have explicitly talked about it, but we're gonna talk about it. Because we touched on some of Hollywood's agendas, but we're gonna talk about this marine because it's synonymous. The Hollywood agenda is synonymous with the Marine Kingdom. So we still on the Marine Kingdom, but we're gonna dive into what the Marine Kingdom is doing through Hollywood, right? So check it out. Pride and rebellion, confusion for the so-called blacks. So we talked about that. We talked about the beast from the sea being that pride, because actually I think we talked about it. If you seen Identity Theft, we talked about how like actually Nimrod's name means the rebellion, the one who rebels. So we talked about the Leviathan and confusion for the so remember, the confusion is coming with the beast from the sea, the pride, that Nimrod type spirit, that ruthless pride spirit, right? That's what's happening on that end. Also, we're gonna touch on this. They currently changing the image of the beast, because we talked about it on the last podcast, is that, you have that image of the white Jesus Christ, right? But what's happening now is the enemy is like because that image, I feel like it's a bloodline of an image, and it's gonna keep transforming to the end image is the image of the beast, but they're gonna keep transforming it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not just like it disappear. It's just like it's gonna keep transforming it. But right now we are witnessing a type of image of the beast in that Jesus Christ, imagery and spirit, right? So they in the process of updating it right now as we speak. We're gonna talk about that with the AI thing, right? I'm just giving you like some agenda things we're talking about. Mixing genders and unnatural attractions. So we're gonna talk about that. You know what I'm saying? How that links into the marine kingdom and how the AI and the LGBTQ plus movement, right? Humanism 2.0, right? And they want to have AI acceptance. That's their whole movement right now, the AI acceptance. So let's break it down. Let's get back to the movie. So if you haven't, because I had the thumbnail on there, and I know I didn't really talk about it on the first thing, but we're gonna talk about it now. So they dropped that Little Mermaid. You know what I'm saying? They dropped that Little Mermaid a couple weeks ago. It might still be in theaters right now, for real. They dropped that Little Mermaid, right? So, back in the day, to keep it real with you, back in the day, I had the VHS Little Mermaid tape. You know what I'm saying? Like with the little Trident dude, whatever his name, I think it was Trident. They had the Ursula, you know what I'm saying, Ariel, all the, the crab, you know what I'm saying, little fish and all that. Like I had, cause I was on Disney, man. Like my folks put me on Disney. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know Disney was evil. I didn't know nothing was going on. I just whatever. Now, we talked about it. They casting spells, bro. The Marine Kingdom be casting spells with. See, you just thought it was just a movie, and then you just gonna pay it no attention, but not knowing they casting spells and they doing a psyop, an inception on the people. It's like they programming the peoples because millions of people are going to see these movies, and they getting programmed with some information that you need to know what's going on because what the Ruach started showing is there's a direct link between what happens on the earth and some of these spells they be casting on the earth. You know what I'm saying? It's connected. So let's talk about the Little Mermaid, right? So because we're gonna talk about the themes of it, so you can see the curse. The agenda of the Little Mermaid is that spirit of the mermaid can mix with man. But they had you thinking it was about because when I seen the tape, I remember what happened on the tape. You know what I'm saying? It was basically she want to sing or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And like I'm paraphrasing and stuff. And then she liked the dude on the surface, and she want to sing. And then the Ursula dude, which is the Ursula woman, which is kind of like Queen of the Coast, Queen of Heaven, Babel. She's she get her to sign this contract, to steal her voice or whatever. And so I was thinking it was about that. So I'm gonna give you an insight on something. A lot of these writers, and I'm not saying they consciously doing it. They could be consciously doing it, or it could be just basically the spirits that are controlling them. But a lot of times they hit you with that misdirection. Meaning that you be thinking about the movie, like they'll tell you what the movie about. Like it'll have a theme about, like, oh, you think it's about her losing her voice, signing a contract, and you know what I'm saying, all this benevolent stuff, right? When the movie really about mermaids mixing with man, because at the end, she wanna, she going on the surface or whatever and just living a regular life, but she's still a mermaid. So they telling you, but that's part of oh man. Doesn't babble mean to mix by confusion? Or confusion by mixing? Ain't that what that mean? And that's the curse, that's the spell they putting on it. They sending that out to little children, right? Because what's happening now in the spirit, because you have a conscious level and then you have a subconscious level. But on the subconscious level, they casting a spell. So these little children and little girls, and that's going to see this Little Mermaid thing, is now open because their parents didn't see it. The parents didn't know what was on. They now open for themselves to mix with the mermaid spirit. So that's why you have those, uh, succubus and all those type of spirits. But whatever spirit that is manifesting in, now they're gonna be linked. Now they're gonna grow up and mix with that mermaid spirit. So this is what's happening behind the scenes, which I'm saying, because your children might go to a public school. You know what I'm saying? Your children might not be homeschooled. They might go to public school, or they might be dealing with somebody that but you need to know these types of spirits and these curses is out here, because we need to be there to pray against these things, man. Pray against these movies and these producers. Now, we know that stumbling blocks got to come, but what I'm saying is that it still don't negate the fact that we can pray. That we can pray. You know what I'm saying? That Yahuwah will have compassion on the people and on the city, to at least get like things that I'm saying, things that people are saying, things that the Ruach is moving people to say, let's say that, out there, so people can know the danger of what's actually happening and what they're doing. Because it's a war. It's a war, bro. That's why it's important, is because it's a war, bro. They shooting bullets, they shoot grenades when these movies come out. So that's the Little Mermaid. That's what they doing. That's the spell they just casted. Is they want you to, and now what's going to be interesting is you're going to see the themes that they are releasing with these movies are similar, because they like to drive home the point. So let's talk about Aquaman, right? So, and let me back up with the mermaid. Sorry. It's interesting too that they casted a black woman, because you're going to see, as we talk about some more movies, is they're directing it to who? Yeah, a lot of people go see Little Mermaid. A lot of people grew up on that. But they are directing this spell, that spell of, i.e. of, hey, black people, they want y'all to mix with the mermaid spirit. They are casting that on little black girls and little girls in general, little boys. You know what I'm saying? They casting that spell out there. That's why we got to pray against this stuff. Aquaman. And I'm not saying you gotta be in the know of all this stuff, but what I'm saying is seek Yahusha, because we don't, like we said, we don't need to be ignorant of the spells that they casting, because mighty are our weapons of war, right? And we ain't wrestling against flesh and blood. We wrestling against these principalities and high places, man. I'm telling you. So that's what they doing with the Little Mermaid. Aquaman. Because this is when I think this is DC, but they really started taking it up. And you see, because if you really go back and see when they hit, we're going to talk about Black Panther. We're going to talk about like all those movies when they started hitting really in the last, 15 years or so. They really started stepping up their spells. And if you check the timeline, you will see that a lot of people was waking up. A lot of people was waking up to Yahusha, man. You know what I'm saying? Waking up to them, to their heritage, and at the same time they casting these spells on the earth. So Aquaman was released December 21st. Once again, you gotta. We talked about, like, I didn't even check this right now, but I'm just looking at this right now. December 21st. Go back. Hey, identity theft. When that's the beginning of this winter solstice, and they gonna throw this curse on there. It's strategic. It grows 1.1 billion worldwide. 1.1 billion, making it the highest DC EU film The highest grossing film based on a DC comic character. The highest grossing film based on a DC character. You understand what's happening? Do you understand that Aquaman, which we're about to talk about what that is, highest grossing. So people love that movie, and that was I think that was a little bit before the pandemic. You understand what's happening with the Aquaman, right? So what's the Aquaman about? What spell is they messing with on that, right? So author, right? He's the main character, right? Basically, this is about the spirit of Nimrod. The spirit of pride and rebellion rises to his throne. That's what the Aquaman. I think they came out with a couple installments, but that first one was about the spirit of pride rising, the spirit of pride and rebellion rising to his throne. They are unleashing the ruthless pride and rebellion. Now I haven't went in depth in this. This is coming to me right now. But if you go back 2019, getting all the way to getting closer to like George Floyd and all these things, like you will see, because I've seen a little bit, you will see a direct correlation between these spells that they casting through these movies by the Marine Kingdom to things that are happening on Earth. Now, of course, they're not connected to the unsuspected. They're not connected. It's like, well, whatever. But when I'm telling you about these spirits of pride and rebellion that are being sent forth, because I remember I told you they had a video online where literally the church that I don't even want to say the whole thing, but that church, right, that wicked church, they was actually praying that some gay and homosexual spirits be released on the earth. So this is what I'm telling you. This is now, and they had a video of it. This ain't no game. This ain't no he say she say. This was documented. You could go online and look at it. They had that church and they was praying to the spirits they was praying to have certain things released on the earth. So when I'm telling you, don't think it's spooky that they doing these movies and they doing curses on people and on the earth to as many people are accepting. It's allowing them demons to operate even on a further scale. That's what they doing, right? And it's like, and you could say on the flip side, but why does it? Well, why don't they just do it? Why don't they just do it because they can just do it and get away with it? They're already doing evil stuff. But demons need people cooperation. Demons need cooperation from the people. Just like we talked about before, like how they want people to be going along with the program. But as more people, that's the C right there. As much of the C and as much as the people is going to go along with it, they can enact more and get more and more territory. Right? So that's why they need to cast this spell in order to get more souls and to get more people to entrap them to push their agenda more and more. But it's all, of course, we know it's all playing into the hands of Yahuwah. But we are talking about this because why does it matter? Because it can come to your front door. It can affect your life. You a believer in Yahushua HaMashiach. You keeping the word. You keeping the Torah. It can affect your life, and it can affect the people's lives that don't even are unsuspected. So that's why we are aware of this thing, because we ain't just gonna just be like let this stuff go, right? Now let's get to the one. You may get your rocks ready for me on this, but maybe not, because I know people that is on this channel. Y'all, a lot of y'all seek Yahushua, so it's not really a thing. Black Panther. Now I ain't gonna lie. The first Black Panther, I was hyped. I had got a Black Panther hat. You know what I'm saying? I think this was when I first. This might be 2017. This when I first moved to LA. I had got like the Black Panther hat. I hadn't met my wife yet. I had went on a date to see the movie. Had my little. I don't think I went to the African garb type of thing. You know what I'm saying? I might have. I don't know what I wore to it, but it was just. it was just wow. You know what I'm saying? I seen little things with the Hebrew thing, and it was interesting. It was interesting, man. And you know, um, so and now they just came out with another one because I think when I watched it, I was like, oh, that was good, this and that. And I think Yahuwah dealt with me like afterwards and was like, hey, man, that's when I found out, because Black Panther. This is just you can look this up. Black Panther gets uh when they do that flower thing, they get that and this is another thing directed towards black people, just like they did with the mermaid, right? Is Black Panther, number one, Black Panther already has an association with the Black Panthers, right? But that little flower situation is it's a cat god that's in Egypt that BAT something. I'd be like BATS maybe, something like that. But basically that's the same thing behind the Catwoman. It's the same, and literally, I think in the Catwoman movie, they actually named that mighty one, that god. And that's the same thing behind the Black Panther. That's where that's linked to, is linked to that god. That's why you see, the astral plane. And it's another thing too, man. Cause I'm in LA, man, and know some people, heard some people, know some people. Not gonna get too into it, but that have known Ryan Coogler, and it's just it's. I was telling my wife the other day, it's just sad, bro. It's sad, that this brother got caught up in there to push this agenda from the Marine Kingdom, you know. So just praying he repent, man, get out of there, man, before it's too late, and the enemy just take him down, But it's just it's sad, because I'm actually about to do a review, about the Michael B. Jordan, all that stuff, man. But it's a lot going on, man. You know, y'all know about, man, but you may know about. You gotta keep these people in prayer, man. So, but they came out with the Black Panther Wakanda, right? Wakanda forever, and because the Chintala, uh, i.e. Chadwick Boseman, and that's crazy too, man. That's crazy. I talked about it, man. I talked about it when he took that role. After he took that role to be on there, that's when really, because I think around the same time that really cancer, I don't know if he was diagnosed around that time, but it was really taking off, man. And it's like, man, I'm just putting this out there, man. Hey, man, if you watching this and you was even in the crew of Wakanda and you part of that, man, get up out of there, bro. Because what I'm talking about now is that if you're part of casting a curse on the people, like, you gonna have to answer to Yahuwah for that. You know what I'm saying? That's why Ryan Coogler, man, he gotta repent, man, because like he gonna have to answer for casting spells on the people. Gonna have to answer for that, man. And I know it's especially because my wife was telling me, because we was in LA, man, and we went to some studio places and stuff, and my wife was saying, like, man, I see why Yahuwah didn't send you to film school, because like you would have been plugged up. And a lot of these people, especially when I was coming out of college, I was just thinking like, man, I just want to get on. That's why I was going to New York Film Academy, just cause Spike Lee went there. You know what I'm saying? That's why I was just like, man, like I'm gonna just go in there, man, get some connections. You know what I'm saying? Be doing, you know what I'm saying? And I thank Yahuwah, man, for shutting that down. And sometimes you want stuff, man, but Yahuwah shut that down, because I would have been right up in there with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, so praise Yahuwah that he shut that down. So that's why I can't really go. I mean, I can go hard on them because it's still wicked that what they doing, but I understand that, especially, and that's why the truth got to continue to get out there, man. That because remember the Romans say, how will they know if no one is sent? I'm paraphrasing. Like, if there's no preacher, you know what I'm saying, to go. So We gotta share the good news, man. Maybe it could get to them, man. Maybe they can hear it across their desk. That they hear, man, that they casting spells, and these movies are wicked, bro. They're wicked. And so let's talk about Wakanda Forever. Like, what was the? Because that just came out. What was the curse they did on that? You know, they was promote because they had the. We didn't talk about the Woman King, but that was a whole nother thing, which I think most of y'all seen and heard about how that tribe was actually selling the slaves, and this promotion of the Woman King, which even the title gives their agenda away. You know, the promotion of the woman, and the demasculation of the black male. Part of the confusion. Babel behind that again. You know what I'm saying? Babel behind that again. But we're talking about specifically about Wakanda Forever. So there's a pair. Oh yeah. So um, Sherry makes an alliance with Namor. I believe I'm saying it right. Which was he was like the like part of the Water Kingdom. Like literally, they telling you right in there. He was part of the Water Kingdom, and he made a what? He made an alliance with the Wakanda people. Now, this is why this is the curse. This is the spells they putting on people, because they saying to black people, they saying, what do they suggest to black people? Now you remember with the mermaid, right? Now these movies just came out not too far from each other. With the mermaid, they said they told you, they said, hey, little black girls, little black women, right? Y'all, it's okay for y'all to mix with the mermaid spirit. It's okay for the mermaid spirit to mix with man. Then they gonna double down and they gonna say, black people, right? Because pretty much now all types of people go see Wakanda Forever, Black Panther, but particularly for black people, it's, hey, make an alliance with the Water Kingdom, make an alliance with the with the Marine Kingdom. That's what they subliminally saying. They telling you that's the spell they putting on. They trying to suggest for, because you just think it's a movie, you just go home and it ain't got nothing to do with it, nothing to do with anything. But these movies leave impressions. You there for 2 hours, right? So that's why it's important you letting these things in your mind and your subconscious, but they getting to something, because the spirit that inspired that work is getting to something, and it's getting to black people. Y'all make an alliance with the Water Kingdom. So now, after the movie, you start to see, we ain't gonna name all the stuff, but you start to see the spirits at work to do what? Get black people to make an alliance with the Water Kingdom. That's why you had Kamala Harris, and you have these things, and that's what we're gonna talk about with the LGBTQ, because it's all linked together. And when the Ruach starts showing you the curses and spells that because they'll do it. It ain't just got to be a movie. We just talking about movies, and that's because that's kind of like our ministry. You know what I'm saying? Like me and my family's ministry. But it could be on the news. It could be an event. They'll keep a narrative going to cast a spell, and they are continually doing this. They are continually casting spells, and we don't need to go to sleep and just be like, oh, well, or get restless. You know what I'm saying? It's a war. It's a war. It's a spiritual war. So basically that what it is. And the Ruach showed me something else too. And I didn't really like look this stuff up or anything. Like when I was thinking about the Black Panther, y'all was showing me. And if you did this, you got to repent, because Yahuwah forgive me too. You know what I'm saying, for doing this. But that X thing, like they have everybody. Remember, they was taking, once again, them demons get trends going. What was the trend when Black Panther came out? It was wear your African garb and throw that X up. Throw that X up. Now the Ruach put me on this, and I was like, whoa. What it was, what is that X? I was like, Yahuwah was putting in my mind, what is that X? And And then Yahuwah says, Satah. What's Satah? Covenant. So once again, let's rewind the tape back. You know what I'm saying? What was the last Wakanda Forever? They made an alliance. They made a covenant with the Water Kingdom. Because usually what they do is they'll make the first installment and they'll try to be very subtle about what they trying to do. They're not gonna really tell you up front in the first segment. You know, if they coming out with like 4 or 5 movies, they gonna come out. The first one gonna be very, you know what I'm saying, it's still gonna be there, but it's gonna be like very subtle. But then the second one and third one, that's when they're gonna get more blatant about what they're doing. So in the movie Wakanda Forever, the guy makes an alliance, or Sherry from the Wakanda, they make an alliance with the Water Kingdom. And what they got people doing? They got people doing the X, throwing the X up, making an alliance with Wakanda. You know what I'm saying? And Wakanda got an alliance with the Water Kingdom. Yeah, they might spin it on future things and movies and stuff like that, but they already got the message out there. Is no, so if you was doing that X thing, you know what I'm saying? If you was doing that X thing, making them covenant with Wakanda, man, hey man, just cancel that in the name of Yahushua. You know what I'm saying? Get that thing canceled. Because we ain't got no covenants with Wakanda. It's made up. It's fictitious. Yeah. So basically, they want an alliance, a covenant with the Marine Kingdom, with Babel and Confusion herself, and that's why they had you see the promotion of the women and all that stuff, but that was part of the thing is because it's like Sherry was representing Babel. That's what it was. That's what they want. They want black people to make a covenant with Babel, with Confusion, the Queen of the Coast, right? They are unleashing a spirit of confusion because people are weary of fighting and demons are whispering, give up, make an alliance with Confusion and you will have peace. Because that's part of the agenda with a lot of these movies is really beating people down for them to make an alliance. Because that's what I take from, even when you look at the Wakanda thing. It's like people get weary of fighting. People get weary of all this stuff going on, so they start to bend. They start to compromise, and as soon as they start to compromise, that's when they open for a covenant to be made. So that's what they and what we talked about on the first one is to do what is for them to break the people's will to resist. Because once they break the people's will to exist, to resist, the people gonna be willingly to give a covenant because they don't want to fight no more. And the reason why, because they ain't got no power. But the Ruach HaKodesh, the set apart spirit of Yahuwah is unlimited. So as long as they can go, you know what I'm saying, Yahuwah's spirit can go. You know what I'm saying? Now, earlier I was talking about the image of the beast with the Jesus Christ, right? And so they had, this movie is old, but they had on Netflix they had that Messiah movie, right? And it was interesting that they changed the imagery up because they had, like, he was supposed to be like the anti-Messiah or whatever. But what the Ruach was showing me is that what they're doing now is, because they got that movie The Chosen, and what y'all was showing is that they are now changing the imagery. Because before it's like, that image has always been blonde hair, blue eyes, right? So now, even when they had that show The Chosen and stuff, they're actually starting to move towards a Middle Eastern type of feel, right? And you know who's behind that? I didn't know this, but you know who's behind that Chosen series is, and that's why it's good to just look this stuff up and to see who's behind promoting a lot of this stuff. Like you'll run into this name Jerry B. Jenkins, right? So if you remember the Left Behind series type of situation, that was all him. And also if you look into it, what their religion is, they're a Christian, but they dispensationalists. So that's why, you got the rapture and all that stuff. Why they pushing that is because the guy behind the Left Behind series was a dispensationalist. You got to go look that up. We ain't gonna get all into that, but that's a false doctrine thing. But his son is the one behind the Chosen. So you know like how it's connected. But they particularly pick the guy that's starring it. He's actually Egyptian. He's actually Egyptian, kind of mixed with Irish and stuff. So they're starting to pick in their casting. They're starting to pick because that's part of the spirit that's moving. They're starting to pick more quote unquote Middle Eastern people for the imagery of Jesus Christ. Why? Because the image is transforming to its next phase, right? So that's that. You know what I'm saying? And it's a drip by drip process, so people can't really suspect it. Because if the world's still going on 100 years from now, maybe that image is changed and evolved into whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? And even with that movie like The Chosen, we already talked about it. The image of Jesus Christ is divination. So that's part of the spirits that in the curses that's being released, the spells that's being released in it. Because they come in with a lot of more Christian movies. They had a couple of them. They had one honk for Jesus Christ or something like that. But they had the Jesus Christ Revolution. And they're gonna keep coming out with these movies. But once again, it's part of the divination. Because we talked about that image is a false image. It's a demonic image they keep promoting of, I ain't gonna say the Messiah, because they ain't got nothing to do with Yahushua. You know what I'm saying? The European Jesus Christ ain't got nothing to do with Yahushua. You know what I'm saying? All right, so let's talk about it, because we talk about early when we started this thing. We was talking about some agendas, and we're gonna pick it up. So you're still listening to the Explicit Truth Podcast. I'm your host, 𝤉𝐄𝐿. I hope pray you've been enjoying the convo. I know we've been diving into a lot. We're getting there. Because we still got to talk about this LGBTQ plus thing. That's going to be the kind of finale. You know what I'm saying? The predictive programming and AI. Remember we talked about the predictive programming, right? So my wife was telling me about this trailer, John David Washington. John David Washington is Denzel Washington's son. And so they got this trailer called The Creator. And the trailer already start off crazy because he say something like the little boy asked him, "Are you going to heaven?" And John David's character said no, because that's where all the good people go, or he's not a good something crazy. But what I'm saying, what I've seen with the trailer is, because the trailer is basically trying to and of course they could twist it in the movie or whatever, but what they promote now is they trying to get you in your emotions about AI. Like, is it really human? What happens when the AI got emotions and it's sentient and it can think and it can feel and all this other stuff? Would you destroy it just because it's a computer? You know what I'm saying? They're trying to get you into that stuff, and but that's part of the spirit of confusion. Trying to confuse you to accept a new norm, because they want you to be confused. It's still a computer. It's still a program. But they want you to think. They got emotions. They can think. So that's what that trailer is about. And that's what they push. That's the spell they're going to be pushing now, is that now when they start, because that's what everybody say is AI. They was like, oh, but it's a computer. It doesn't really. But what happens when it, because I was watching CNN and it was like, man, the computers seem to have emotions. You know what I'm saying? They start pushing that narrative. Now what you going to say? Right? And so that brings us into the LGBTQ plus situation, right? Is the AI. Now I ain't even really seen this, man. Who was breaking this down, man? I love Yahushua, man. You know what I'm saying? I love Yahushua. I love the Father, man. Alua. Praise Yahuwah for bringing forth his only begotten son, Yahushua Mashiach, Bond of the living Alua. Man, Yahushua's truth. And so the AI thing, the spell they cast with the AI is literally was a forerunner for because the LGBTQ plus thing's been going on for a number of years, but they really are getting aggressive. And when you see, that's when they had the Target thing. You're like, man, they getting aggressive because the conservatives is calling it out. They getting aggressive, and of course they got other stuff they messing up on too, Republicans and all that stuff. But you see that spirit because remember, the LGBTQ plus is linked to the beast from the sea. So that is a prideful, rebellious. Literally, June is linked to what? Pride Month. And literally, because I was watching this guy, I don't know what he owned, as far as it was a European guy, and he was at like just parade or something. And the gay people is acting like they just so nice. You know what I'm saying? They just so nice and just like, and the dude he ain't harming nobody, he ain't bothering nobody. He just has, because he was talking about abortion. He was like, man, this is what this. He was just posted up. You know what I'm saying? Had his stuff, and you should have seen the hatred that was coming out of these people, man. Like, it's like, bro, because it's kind of like, oh, let's all get along. You know what I'm saying? Until we disagree, until we don't agree with you, then it gets wild. But the AI thing really set the tone. The AI, and it's going to continue to set the tone for the push for a genderless society. Because even the term binary, that's a computer term. You know what I'm saying? A binary. What the heck is a non-binary? You know what I'm saying? Like, that is a computer. They telling you in the words they using and they want to confuse people, because if you go do the ultrasound, you will see it's either a boy or it's a girl. But they're going to tell you in your thought process that you could be a non-binary. It's all a spell. That's what people don't understand. It's a spell. And we're going to talk about the because it's connected to something else. But the marine kingdom is casting spells to get people to believe they are non-binary, or this thing. But that is linked to the AI has a big part in it. When you see how it's linked, it's all together. It's all one thing, right? Now, this is what get crazy, because you may know somebody that's in the LGBTQ plus, or you may know that somebody that's gay, homosexual, bisexual, whatever they want to name. And I think a lot of times people don't really understand how that spirit move in order to combat it. So that's why we taking time, and that's why the Ruach HaKodesh is moving us to take time to know what we actually dealing with, right? So the mountaintop for that type of spirit, we know it says, they say pride, all that stuff, right? If you look up pride, that's what it became. I mean, literally telling you, because they're using a word that is, synonymous with something crazy. But the mountaintop for this whole movement is vainglory, which leads to blasphemy of the Ruach HaKodesh, right? Vainglory is pride in oneself or one's achievements, excessive vanity. Yahushua said, for they love the praise of men more than the praise of Yahuwah. And beware not to do your righteousness before men, to be seen by them, otherwise you have no reward in the presence of your Father in the heavens. Why is that important? Why are we talking about vainglory? Because what's the crazy part about, let's take somebody, because it used to be a brother here in LA. He used to be homosexual, and it all goes back to the upbringing. When he was talking about his story, he was talking about how his father was such this macho type of guy, but he was like in the art and all this other stuff, and so his father didn't really understand him, so he really pushed him into that spirit, because he was like, "Oh, you soft, you like art, you know what I'm saying? I don't want you a manly man," you know what I'm saying? He didn't really know how to really just maneuver, so he pushed him, and then the boy was, he was raped, and so that furthermore pushed him into that spirit. So it's a lot of things, how them spirits work to get people into that lifestyle, and people that's in that lifestyle can talk about it. You know what I'm saying? But what it does is that trauma produces something which is really crazy, and it produces the very words they tell you about. It produces pride, and not just any type of pride. It produces that vainglory and excessive pride. Because when you look at the devil, right? Ezekiel 28 verse 17, it said, "Thy heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thy corrupted the wisdom by reason of thy brightness." So the devil was lifted up because of his beauty. Basically, he was looking. It's like him looking in the mirror and seeing how Yahuwah made him, and thinking that is all him, and is puffing himself up to love himself so much that it becomes excessive. Now, what's crazy about when you talk about the LGBTQ plus, it could take form. It could take form in different fashions, right? But you'll have, let's say you have a man, right? Biologically born a man, right? We ain't gonna get into like all that stuff. But biologically born a man, he's a man, right? He has genitals, you know what I'm saying? Everything, right? What happens is it's such a deficiency of that upbringing that now this man actually, the feminization happens, and now the excessive pride happens, to where now he is so feminized that he wants to be a woman. You see what I'm saying? Now it can flip too, because you have some women, they want to be most times it's like most women want to be like a butch. You know what I'm saying? Or it's like most women want to be like a manly man. I mean, it could flip. But what I'm saying is all the root of it is excessive pride, and the root of that is dealing with some deep wounds, some deep soul wounds that have happened. And once again, it usually linked back to rejection, which we talked about, in which the Marine Kingdom usually exploits. And this movement, this LGBTQ plus, along with this AI thing, is going to be, and it already is, a war. And we got to pray, because this stuff is trying to come at our children. It's trying to come at our children, and it's trying to come at the next generation of babies and everything, little ones. And we need to know what's going on. We're on the home stretch, right? So I seen this because I posted this, and I was like, whoa, praise Yahuwah. So when you look at the LGBTQ, it's like you see these things. There's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. So it's like, where is this? So we already identified that spirit is a spirit of pride. We know it's linked to confusion, right? Because they confused. Literally, they confused. They saying they came out a man and gonna get their whole body changed. That's why I think Umar Johnson talked about it one time, like how basically back in the day it was actually a mental illness to think, because if you really think about it, how was somebody that's born that had genitals and everything would start to say that they a woman? Like it's crazy. That's confusion. But that's part of Babel. That's part of the Marine Kingdom. They start confusing them with a whole bunch of thoughts, and then now they don't even know what they are, right? But that's part of the confusion. But let's talk about this though, because now this is the interest. I got this off of an actual gay site, like it was an actual LGBTQ plus site. This their own literature on this site. This is what they said. This is what they saying now. Use their own. This their own words now. It says Mesopotamian myths, which contain religious beliefs of the earliest human civilization, featured many references to individuals who were neither male nor female, or were not what we could know today as something gender, whatever, cisgender. One of the most powerful deities known as Ayana. Now let's pause, because if you watch Identity Theft, where does ancient Mesopotamia is going back to ancient Babel, the kingdoms of Nimrod, right? And guess who they named? They named Ayana, which is code word for Queen of Heaven, which is code word for Babel, which is code word for Nimrod's wife, right? Samaris, Samaritas, whatever you want to, all the names she be going by. Check out what it say about her. And later on, Ishtar. And had a particular strong relationship with gender. Ayana was the goddess of sex, war, and justice, as well known as the Queen of Heaven. It is believed that she had the power to change a person's gender. Something noted by a follower as early as the 23rd century BC. Thus, individuals with non-binary identities were often involved in a religious practice surrounding her. Hold on. Back it up for a second. Back it up. Just talked about this deity, Ayana, Queen of Heaven, i.e. Babel, i.e. the woman that rides on the beast, the woman that rides on Nimrod, bringing the confusion and pride. Ain't that what the LGBTQ plus is bringing? They're bringing confusion and pride. It's coming out of the sea, out of the people, right? Confusion and pride. They trying to tell the little children, right? And y'all need to speak up. Y'all parents, y'all in public school, whatever. Hey man, y'all need to speak up. Don't be letting them just run amok and do that stuff, man. Like pray against that in y'all schools or whatever. They are bringing confusion and pride. And it just said that ancient Mesopotamia, this mighty one, the Queen of Heaven, i.e. that spirit known as Babel, that's coming out of the water with the beast from the sea, just said the Queen of Heaven, said that she was known to change one's gender. Now, if you think about it, that's what they're doing. That's what that spirit is doing, because what's happening now? It's confusing the people. It's confusing not all the people, but it's confusing some people. And guess what? Now they saying they non-binaries. Now they saying they gonna change their gender. Why? Because they confused. Babel has got a hold of them. Confusion has got a hold of them. And once confusion get a hold of them, guess what happens? Pride. And not just any pride, relentless pride. That's why they so aggressive. Right? And check this out. And it said, thus, individuals with non-binary identities. Because look, pause. The non-binary term, like, because they had, what's her name? Janae Monáe on Breakfast Club. And she was up there doing her witch, because she's a witch. She was up there doing her witch stuff, doing, walking around, basically they was casting spells. When you look at this thing, she's talking about she a non-binary. The whole push from Babel and the Queen of Heaven and the Marine Kingdom to push this non-binary thing is, number one, they already did that back in ancient Mesopotamia. That's what they was already doing. But they pushing it now on this generation. The thing about it, that term, why you keep hearing that term binary, non-binary, or binary, whatever, gender fluid, all that stuff, is because they are preparing the people for the AI age, the age of the beast. And in the age of the beast, they're trying to remove the gender thing. That's why they're gonna be able to really push the AI thing, because the AI thing, it ain't no male or female. Is it a male or female? It's a computer. How can it be? They gonna tell you, and even in the deception, they gonna tell you, they gonna give you a name. They gonna give it a name and tell you it's Bob or whatever the name they trying to say. They giving it a man name or woman name. But don't fall into that stuff. Don't you got to cast that down, because that's not. It's a computer, bro. Like they got like the Alexa thing, and Alexa thing has a woman voice, but it's a computer. It's a computer that's programmed to have a woman voice. But what I'm saying is, don't let that get into your, because once it start inception in your mind, and you start thinking this stuff, they're gonna put that in there. But check this out. It say that thus individuals with non-binary agendas. Thus individuals with non-binary identities were often in religious practices concerning her. Did you hear that? So, the religious practices concerning Babel was pushed by these people that claimed to be non-binaries, and they were pushing the rituals. Ain't that what we've been saying? The same thing ain't nothing changed, bro. Ain't nothing changed. The same thing is going on. So she had cult members and she had priests. That's what they got. So when you see somebody like Janae Monet, she's a cult member and priest or priestess of the cult of 𝐤𝐄𝐄, Queen of Heaven. One such group refers to the members as people, something like that. Let's see. So they involved in festivals, honoring. That's when you see Pride Month. Pride Month is honoring 𝐤𝐄𝐄, i.e. the Mesopotamia Queen of Heaven, i.e. Babel that rides the beast in the end. That's what it's honoring. The same spirit that Israel, Yisrael, has been dealing with, going back to Ashtaroth, you know what I'm saying? All that stuff. Same spirit. Look, it says these I'm probably saying it wrong. People were originally raised in society as women, but were blessed by 𝐤𝐄𝐄, who handed them a spear as if she were a man, and named them something like academios. Something. It is debated whether handing the spear is literally or the people became warriors and as such define traditionary binary roles, or if the spirit blah 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 blah. So in this cult, she had people that were males and adapted women's names and became women. Do you hear this? Right? So when they come with that in your school or your children's school, and they come in with that, don't think it's strange. It is strange. It's some Sodom and Gomorrah stuff. But what I'm saying is, ain't nothing new under the sun. And this is the spirit that has to be rebuked, the spirit of confusion and pride, the beast, and the woman that rides it. You got to rebuke, because think about it. They doing this now through the people. Imagine when that beast really come out that sea. It's gonna be terrible. And you think they're ruthless now. So, but what is all that leading to? We're gonna get to the conclusion right now. This is, and y'all willing, I may do a video on it. It's the age of the Baphomet. Because what they doing is they telling you that LGBTQ plus is pushing that Mesopotamia code of 𝐤𝐄𝐄 doctrine. They're telling little children, hey man, you could be a binary, confusing, trying to confuse them. That's what it is, it's confusion. They bring in the confusion. That's what you gotta pray against. And so you gotta watch it too with these movies. So cartoons, all that stuff. But it's pushing to the Baphomet thing, because if you look at the Baphomet thing, which goes back to Egypt, connected to one of them Egypt gods, and literally, I think it's the BS, and it's actually the imagery that they got for the devil with the horns and all that stuff, and that's linked to what I talked about in the video, the pan, you know what I'm saying, which is the horned goat, and that's what you got, the horned goat, which is a it's supposed to be a non-binary, because it's a male and female. You see what I'm saying? So that's what they pushing, and that's why you see that imagery in some of the music videos and stuff that they're doing, with some of them artists pushing that Baphomet thing, is because it's the ultimate, to them, it's the ultimate pinnacle for them, because the non-binary is they're trying to make it a slap in the face of Yahushua, because Yahushua created Adam, male and female. You know what I'm saying? And so they trying to insult him and try to insult the creation and do that. Of course, we know they're gonna be destroyed. Their judgment is already written. The lake of fire. They will be tortured day and night forever and ever. But this is what they doing, man. This and why it's important, man, because we got to cling to Yahushua, and we have to know what's going on in our cities, in this earth, to pray against these spirits, because it's a war. They after the children. They after you. They after you, right? Ask Yahushua for boldness to speak, because I know on your job, what I'm saying, you might not can't say nothing or whatever, but you got to speak up. Don't let them try you, right? Because the spirit of confusion and pride is out here, man. And so, oh man. So that's the closing thoughts. The closing thoughts is to continue to cling to Yahushua. Continue to pray against these spirits, right? That they cast, and the spells that they cast. And when you see these movies, when you see these things coming out, things that we didn't even get to mention, make sure that you seeking Yahuwah to find out what they doing to combat it in the spirit, because they're gonna get aggressive. They're gonna get aggressive. But if they are able to stand on what they standing on, which is saying and falsehood, how much more so are you able to stand on Yahushua HaMashiach, who is the rock, right? You know what I'm saying? How much are you able to stand on him as he gives you boldness to speak, to say, hey man, we don't stand for that. We don't deal with that. You know what I'm saying? Because Yahuwah said it is an abomination. And it's an insult to Yahuwah. And so we don't give, so in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, we cast down the spirit of confusion against our children. Yahuwah, we pray that your Ruach HaKodesh will go throughout these schools. Yahuwah, may you raise up people to send them into the harvest to preach the good news, that people can know, no, it's not okay to receive the spirit of confusion, to be confused about. Because if you're confused about something about your gender, man, you definitely gonna be confused about like your like why Yahuwah put you on this earth. And so Yahuwah, we just pray that you would send people to preach the good news, that people would know, people would be able to hear. They have the ability to choose, but they would hear that it's not okay. It's not okay to be confused. It's not okay to be in pride. And if they in that, they can come out of that. But Yahuwah, if they don't, you're going to judge them. And you're going to reserve the outer darkness for them. So that's what we praying, man. We praying a covering for the believers. Those who are in Yahushua, that have children that are going to public school, who are going to private school, who have to deal with this, praying for believers that are in jobs of which they pushing this, that you would give them boldness to stand and not compromise. And if they gonna get fired, that's what it is or whatever. But to be able to stand, because we know that spirit of pride and confusion want to confuse people, and they want to make people compromise, and they want to break down people and break people's will to resist it. But Yahuwah, we pray that you would strengthen the believers in Yahushua HaMashiach to their agenda is for people to wills to get broke down. Yahuwah, that you would strengthen, you would even make us stronger to come against it with the sword. Psalms 149 with the double-edged sword in our hand, to execute vengeance on the nations, to bind their sovereigns with chains. Yahuwah, that you would give that power to come against it with force, to give us a voice of a trumpet in the city. Yahuwah, do not let us be bystanders to the slaughtering, the intellectual slaughtering, the spiritual slaughtering that they're doing on our children. Do not let us be bystanders. Yahuwah, wake us up. Strengthen us. Strengthen those who are trusting in you to be sealed in Yahushua Mashiach, to be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, to preach the good news, and to combat this stuff that's happening, Yahuwah. And to not be naive, but to know that it is trying to come to our door, because that's what that spirit is. It's aggressive. It's coming from the people, and they're trying to come at every end. So Yahuwah, I pray that you would send people into the school systems, that you would send teachers that rise up and say, hey, man, you're not here. You know what I'm saying? Principals, you know what I'm saying? And that you would, and parents would, that are striving for righteousness, that they would take their children out of school if it get too crazy. Yahuwah, that we just pray that your Ruach would just go forth into the crevices and cracks of those who are seeking you and trusting in your name and searching for you, that they will not be overcome by the spirit of confusion and pride that is coming out the people, coming out the sea, coming out and trying to, and we know eventually will come out the ocean to fulfill what is written in the scriptures in Revelations 13. But we pray that Yahuwah, that you would seal us, and that you would remove any ounce, any drip drop, you know what I'm saying, of admiration or any thoughts towards the beast. We pray that it will be destroyed in the name of Yahushua Mashiach, and that our eyes will look towards Yahushua continually, to be our strength, to be our helper, to raise us up. So we pray. And so you've been listening to the Explicit Truth Podcast. I'm your host, Yahuwah, man. It was, man, it was intense. It was intense, man. But praise Yahuwah, we got through it. So we out of here, man. And shalom. You are listening to the Explicit Truth Podcast.